Attention remodeling entrepreneurs. Are you ready to rise? Ryan Paul Adams and Kyle Hunt are your hosts of Remodelers on the Rise. A weekly podcast where they interview today's most inspiring entrepreneurs from the remodeling world who share their journey and empower you to become the next remodeler on the rise. And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Remodelers on the Rise. I'm your host, Kyle Hunt, and alongside me is my co-host, Ryan Paul Adams. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Kyle. How about you?
Doing excellent. It's Friday. It's sun is shining, 40 degrees here in beautiful Michigan. So we're
no rain and no snow here, so we're good. Good for the day.
Getting close to spring. So this is Remodelers on the Rise, podcast number 7, and let's get started by introducing today's guest. Our guest today is Bill Patrick, who is the division manager and senior designer of the remodeling division for E.G. Stoltzfus Homes in Lancaster, PA. I nailed that, didn't I, Bill?
You did.
Yes.
Very good, Kyle.
Well done.
So Bill was the founder and owner of William J. Patrick, Inc. from 89 through 2009. He received numerous awards for design work, including Remodeling Magazine's Big 50 Award for Fine Design. And Bill was also named Remodeler of the Year by the Pennsylvania Builders Association in 2007. And in November of 2009, he joined up with the firm he's currently with, and E.G. Stoltzfus. I think I nailed it again. Is a full-service construction company. They do design and construction of neighborhood homes, remodeling, designed homes, and they're involved in commercial construction. So, Bill, the focus of this show is really about you and your business and your experience. I just gave a quick intro, and I'd like to turn it over to you if you could briefly tell us more about you personally and also your business and how you arrived in your current position with EG.
Well, I think like a lot of people in our industry in particular, we show up here without a particular plan or a career path in mind. The only thing I was interested in doing after I graduated from Millersville University, a local state school with a degree in what is today applied engineering and technology, focused on communications and design. The only plan I had upon graduating was that I wanted to go ski for the winter. So I needed something to do that summer. And a buddy of mine who had dropped out of college was framing houses, and he's gone on to be a very successful home builder here in our market. And that fed my winter need by having this great summer job, learning, working hard, actually seeing how the parts and pieces go together that I'd learned about academically. And I did that for 3 summers. And
Did you get to go skiing in the winter?
I did. I spent one winter working in Quebec for a professor of mine who'd retired up there to a ski lodge, did 80 days.
Excellent.
And it was a slow slide from there down in skiing, but that was balanced by an increase in building and remodeling. So I spent a year as a realtor too, which was an eye-opening experiencing for me about the whole process of sales and documentation. But by the end of 1990, I was missing building, designing, creating, and it gave up all other pursuits and said, "Hey, I can do this. There's a career here."
Excellent. So and we'll get into some of the previous experience, but fast forward to 2009. Just curious to hear kind of the transition from your own business and joining an established firm, another established firm.
Well, like I think would be the theme of my time with you guys here today. It's about relationships, and it's I was able to build on strong relationships through my involvement at the local Building Industry Association. Actually, the president of our company and the son of the founder served as an advisor to me on the board when I was president of the local. And he'd always been interested in wondering how they could tap into in a more strategic way remodeling. There's currently we're up to about 10,000 projects, residential, commercial, new homes, remodeling.
That's amazing. Wow.
And that's quite a bit of people. The vast majority of them, of course, satisfied that have buildings that need help.
Well, it's interesting. You just mentioned 10,000 projects. And before we kind of put you on the hot seat here, although it's not too hot, we'll go easy. Talk to me a little bit about Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the area. Is there a lot of money? Is it just growing? What's going on there sounds like you guys are just doing some awesome things.
Well, that's a 45-year book of business.
Yep.
Keep that in mind. Elam Gideon Stoltzfus started out as a remodeler and a custom builder in 1968, and I think the county that we're in, the municipality, the metro area, if you will, we're a little bit over 500,000 people.
Okay.
And that has doubled. That the population has doubled since 1960, so it's grown. We're at the crossroads of the Mid-Atlantic states here in central Pennsylvania, which, when you talk about a TV market, it's Lancaster, York, and Harrisburg. Our capital, the capital of Pennsylvania is Harrisburg. So there's about somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 million to 2 million people in that metro area. That's our primary market. So we've got 20 neighborhoods that we're working in around that region, which spans about 50 miles, and we're on the far eastern side of that. We were just doing some strategic thinking yesterday, and how can we expand east 50 miles, which would take us almost to the Philadelphia city line, quite frankly. And there's a lot more money that way. It seems like that market is heated up even more quickly in its recovery than central PA.
Gotcha.
So very diverse, very, very diverse economy. We're ahead in manufacturing as a percentage of our economy. Agriculture, believe it or not, is our number one economic engine.
No way.
A lot of logistics, because, as I said, we're at the crossroads of the Mid-Atlantic states.
Right.
With the interstates here. So
Excellent. Well,
but I didn't finish my story about how I ended up here at E.G. Stoltz.
yeah, let's continue on.
So after many casual conversations with Brent about, I wouldn't say many, but a few passings, I got a phone call from him in 2009, said, "Hey, just checking in to see how you're doing. If you ever want to get together and just catch up."
An innocent call.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do that. And I was like, "Oh, all right, Brent, things are going well. I've right-sized. I had 10 employees. I was down to 4. Was paying the bills, and quite frankly, it was the highest gross margin on percentage I had seen in 2009 in probably 10 years in business, because it just was very focused on what needed to be done. Not without some sleepless nights, believe me, but I think that's been endemic in our industry, and a lot of people have gained experience through this correction. But I went home that night and told my wife that Brent, who she knows as well, had called, and she said, "What? He didn't call just to say hello. You go have breakfast with him." So she's a little wiser in those perceptions, obviously, than me. So I went and said, "Is there any chance you'd be interested in making a shift in your career?" And I went back and took that news to my wife, and she said, "Well, you keep talking to him." So that was like April.
Mama knows best. I mean, let's be honest, right?
Yeah. And that was like April. And I think we finalized the absorption, if you will, by October.
Why? Why'd you do it?
A new challenge. I mean, it kind of started with nothing but my bootstraps, and took it up and was looking at, basically had had to right size the company back 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Was not real excited about that.
No,
You do what you have to do. But in 2007, I think back to, what I was doing on a daily basis with the team I had around me and the kind of projects we were working on. It was exactly what I dreamed of, 15 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And on the basis of a bunch of speculators that I had no relationship to or control over, the whole market and the rug was pulled out from underneath us. So this provided me an opportunity to download and outsource, if you will, a lot of the things that most business people get into business and find out they're surprised they have to be responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
Can offload a lot of the headaches. Not all of them.
Yeah, why the
of them.
vans don't run, or
Yeah.
who's negotiating health insurance or cash flow. Why are we not compliant with our payroll? So that was the ability to basically show up here at this 60-person corporation, and they've got all the administrative stuff that we could share.
And I would imagine focus on the stuff that you enjoy the most.
You're correct.
Yeah.
And that's what back to relationships, creativity, and focus on people, and the processes to make people meet their potential, not just to be in compliance or deal with the logistics that really is an absolute necessary evil, but can be a big distraction.
Yeah. I think for the remodelers listening to this, that there's a lot of pride, right, in building our own business and the years and the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to do that. But even here recently, Ryan and I both wanted to start a podcast. Well, it wasn't until we partnered up and started sharing the responsibility and the workload that boom, it happened quickly. I can think of 2 or 3 examples of clients I've worked with that have partnered up with certain people, and one of my clients just partnered up with him, and I follow him on Facebook, and he says, yeah, I got 5 kids this weekend. Well, I know he only has 3. Well, the new partner he has, he took his 2 kids while his partner goes on a little trip. And I know a year ago, that sharing of responsibility and stress was just never a thing. So I wanted to pause there and just make sure people, that's something you can consider. When you're out there, there's other solutions. You don't have to continue to do the same thing over and over again. It sounded like you weren't forced into it, but it presented itself, and off you went. All right, very good. So Ryan, why don't you get into our next question?
Yeah, Bill, can you share a success quote that you live by and maybe an example or 2 of how you apply this to your life and your business?
Our success, and I think it's no truer in any industry or business, our success comes as much from whom we don't work for as for who we do. I always love to give referrals out to my competition, and
yeah,
I've been reminded of this a couple of times. Like it started out innocently because maybe we were too busy or it was too far away. But I want to take credit for the feeling in my gut when I went to interview somebody or talk to somebody on the phone and qualify them that there was just something there that was not going to be a good fit.
Right.
And the emotional challenge and component of this business, working on people's homes. And the fact is, not everybody's got the same emotional intelligence as a client or any role in this process, employee or subcontractor, to be working in people's houses. And better be a good fit, or
it's going to be a headache.
Might be a headache.
Good. Share a story of a time in your journey where you encountered failure, if you could, and kind of take us to that time in your life. Tell us that story. Maybe share a few lessons you learned from that.
I'm lucky and blessed to not have any huge failures along the way. Maybe I can attribute that to my obsessive compulsiveness and focus on too many details. but at the same time, that's a gift. I talk about that as if it's a gift, and really, if I overuse it, it's something that I fail by every day. And it's really developing in the trusting, executive abilities that it takes to be a great leader. To get the best people you can afford on your team and set them up for success with clear boundaries to work within, and then just get out of their way. And when I look back, and it still happens to this day, as I still manage projects myself in the division, I really need to trust the people that are with me. And when I think back on, some of the folks that I hired, and two of the guys that didn't come with me when I was absorbed here at EG, they went out and they started their own businesses. And, how could I have gotten out of their way when they were working with me so that things could have been a little bit different, more effective, more rewarding for everybody?
Sure. And right before we got on the phone, I think you were mentioning you're keeping busy this morning with some interviews. Do you have some hiring process, or you've hired and interviewed a lot of people over the years? Anything you look for in bringing on a great team member? Can you share some thoughts on that?
Well, number one would be a values fit. Who are you as a business owner or a manager, and what do you value that you take to the marketplace and serve your customers by, your code, and making sure that there's a good values fit with all of your employees. They're going to have different styles. They're going to fill different roles and have different skills, but in the end, you're all going out and fighting the same fight with the same goals and underlying integrity. So that's number one. Number two is, of course, aptitude. We're looking at this hire right now and thinking, do we hire somebody who's young, inexperienced, got the values and the right style for a field manager, and train them up over the next 2 years, 3 years, where we find somebody that's got a skill set and maybe isn't as good maybe because of their skill set, we're willing to overlook their style difference, which the range of the average field manager / technician in the field, that's quite a broad,
definitely,
array of people. And I've done some personality profiling too. The DISC profile.
Yep.
It's not alone. It's not a standalone piece, but it breeds good conversation. And,
what about like an IQ test? Is intelligence important? Obviously, maybe that leads to other things.
In a field guy, the brilliance is somewhere in their ability to listen and their spatial and tactile genius.
Interesting. Yep.
So it's pretty hard to test for on paper for guys that are putting pieces together and seeing the end at the beginning and all the steps in between. It's much more. It's much more experiential.
Sure.
Yeah. So for the remodelers listening, the DISC test, if you guys haven't been familiar with that, DISC, type in DISC profile test, DISC personality test on Google, and it'll pull up for you. And I'd urge each one of you to, if you have a key person on your team and yourself, go ahead and take that. And once you see kind of the results, I've done this with a few clients, once you see the results of that, you say, oh, that makes sense why that person is rated that way. You probably will start to make that a common practice as you're hiring. Okay.
So, Bill, we touched on a little bit, you haven't really encountered that big failure moment in your life. What about maybe that big breakthrough? Was that your partnership that came through, or is there something else you wanted to touch on there, that aha moment?
Actually, when I think back to a pivotal aha, came so long ago, and I can't even imagine how much I didn't know when this happened, but maybe that's why it was in 1990 at the very first Remodelers show that was held. It was in Pittsburgh. I remember driving out there to see the keynote speech. And I remember this was really just less than a year where I had determined I was going to do this small business thing. And Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth, gave the keynote speech, and it just opened up the whole idea of how businesses work, around creating systems, which are really just a bunch of preset decisions that are supposed to create efficiency and better service.
What a great, hang on, repeat that definition. People always say processes. You just define it in a really interesting and compelling way, or clear way. Say that again. Well, see if it comes out the same way. Okay. Now that I've interrupted your flow.
Business systems or processes would be a preset decisions that are designed to create efficiencies and better service. And if you couple them with a discipline to do it on a regular, predictable basis, the behaviors, if you refine them, it's the recipe. Yeah. It's your recipe.
Well said.
So,
really well said.
And, that notion of the myth, if nobody's read this is, old school, and there's been so many books since then, but the myth still holds true that most small business owners really aren't entrepreneurs in the sense that they're scanning the marketplace, seeking opportunities to put labor and capital and resources, to get a return on their investment. In fact, they're just either doing it out of necessity, or a large portion of them start businesses because they're decent self-directed managers and they think they can do it better than their bosses.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And they need income. Yep. And the unfortunate thing is they end up firing their bosses and starting another job, not a business, unless you get some strategic self-awareness going and learn from your mistakes. You're destined to just repeat the same thing over and over again. So that was huge. I remember I sat down and then ran back and designed the perfect systems for everything in the business.
Oh, nice.
At least I thought.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure it changed a bunch of times after that as well. It's any of these businesses it's an evolving thing. You just keep documenting the things that you do over and over and do it well and improve. And I don't think there's any perfect business. I think it's just a matter of continuing to improve as where you can and how you can.
You got it.
Bill, is there anything in your business right now or the remodeling industry that's really exciting you or kind of getting you going?
Yeah, I think it's maybe part of the arc of life and career. I am just really stoked about teaching and coaching and refining as much. Well, I've been refining for 25 years, but doing this within the team. I've got 6 passionate people who report to me, 2 young guys who are designers, project managers, and they just bring a tremendous amount of energy, and they're really hitting their career strides. So, their questions and opinions and perspectives, I don't feel so much that I need to do as I can teach and develop, other people. So it's fun. It's just a ton of fun.
Awesome. So before we get into the lightning round, I had one other quick question. Talk to it, and you've touched on it a couple times. You've touched on relationships. Talk about some of the key things that you've done over time that you guys do now when it comes to just giving the client a wonderful remodeling experience. How do you achieve that, or what are some of the things that you're implementing, you're doing to achieve that?
Trying to systemize high quality spoken, written, and graphic communications that really just set clear expectations and then be ready to regularly update and reset the expectations. That's what this business of remodeling, it just so craves. And it's the number, when we do get complaints, it's because somebody didn't know what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Somebody made an assumption, somebody didn't communicate the change. So we have just recommitted to regular meetings, whether it's with our clients, whether it's a 4-week job or a 4-month job, up until drywall goes in, having a weekly face-to-face is ideal. So many busy people with 2 career folks, we've come up with a template for an update where you can send a report via email and then make a follow-up phone call.
Great idea. Yeah.
But where are we at with the schedule? What's going on this week? Who's coming? Subs, suppliers? How we doing with changes? When's your next bill due? What can we do to make it less painful?
Client communication reduces stress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't communicate enough.
Just flood them with information and be there to reload.
Good. Well, let's get into the lightning round questions. We're going to rapid fire a few questions at you. And Ryan, why don't you lead off with the first one?
What's the best business advice you've ever received?
The best business advice I've ever received. If you're going to grow, you're going to have to go into some calculated debt.
Interesting. Yep. I'm kind of running into the same thing myself and wondering how deep to go down that rabbit hole. Any advice? Just more stick with what you're kind of comfortable with, or
Ryan, I got millions over here I can loan you. Don't worry.
Okay. Excellent.
I think, it all starts with sales, and that translates into cash flow.
Yeah.
And you have got to understand your, it's no different than investing. It's a different, you're borrowing from profits you have yet to earn.
Right. Exactly.
And, I spent, running up a credit line, I spent, quite a few nights thinking about it, but, can you, knowing that's there, just stay focused on the game and do the behaviors that are going to deliver to your customers and move forward.
Speaking of behaviors, Ryan, do you have one more thing?
No, just a calculated debt. I like the way you phrase that. It's exactly. Yeah.
Good. Behaviors. Can you share one of your personal habits that you believe attributes to your success?
A good task list. And prioritizing that task list, so it kind of goes back to that idea. You succeed perhaps because of the tasks you don't do as much as the tasks you do.
Right.
In today's world, it's just so. Open up my email and I find myself going down these rabbit trails with these links, and
You read all my stuff though.
I do.
Attaboy.
I do.
What book would you recommend to Remodelers on the Rise listeners?
Well, I already mentioned the one that E-Myth, I think still applies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry it's not newer.
No,
but
it's
still fresh.
It's timeless.
Yeah,
it really is. Bill, we ask each guest that comes on the show to provide something meaningful and useful for our listeners and the audience. Is there anything that you could provide to help other remodelers grow or improve their businesses?
You mean a specific business process or
template
idea
or
something?
tool or
process? Something you use or.
Yeah.
For me, it's the idea of a four-step process to get to an agreement, and a feasibility budget with some kind of schematic design or scope of work, an estimate with a lot of pre-selects on your part that you like as you're developing the design, and then get them involved to go ahead and pick everything and personalize it before they go to a final design phase.
Sure.
And these kind of incremental drafts build a relationship, and if you're really good, you got them to pay for your service.
Exactly. Yep.
And you're not giving it away free after they agree that your feasibility budget is good. And then finally, the fourth step, which kind of by going through this process, flushes everything out. You've got a contract, quality, design, and agreement. And, if you got the ability to sell that value up front, and show them how you're going to take them through a process that's got value, most people will pay for it.
Yeah, I agree. As a reminder to our audience, any resource that we talked about today on the show, along with any of the links or books that we mentioned, will be available at remodellersontherise.com, show 7.
Excellent. All right, so Bill, this is the final question. All right, here we go. So imagine you woke up tomorrow morning and were in the same exact business, but you knew no one, had no sales, and only $500 of startup money, and your life depended on you selling something in the next 7 days. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have. Your food and shelter is taken care of, but all you have is a laptop and $500. What would you do in the next 7 days to survive and generate new business? And not to sound too dramatic, but your life depends on you doing this, Bill.
So I know no one. So do I get to pick the community that I get dropped into for this?
Sure. Yes.
Sure. Okay. I want to go to Salt Lake City because my favorite place in the world is the Wasatch Range right there alongside. So if I'm going to do this, I might as well go somewhere when I need to relieve my stress. I can be skiing and hiking in the mountains. So
you only got 7 days, though. We're not going to have a lot of skiing time. You got to get down to business.
Well, but ultimately it's going to pay off.
True story.
So I've got my same LinkedIn and Facebook. And you got
all your knowledge. You got $500.
I got a phone,
laptop.
right?
Yep.
In the end, I need to get my word out. My situation has changed, and I have enough faith that I can convey my talents as a manager and designer and salesperson are available to help someone who's got a situation they want to change. It's back to building the relationships. People buy from people they like and trust. And if the laptop had the latest version of Chief Architect on it, I'd be sailing. Show up and find some people that are probably already in the marketplace that are set up that need my help,
yep.
and see where to go from there.
I like it.
Excellent.
And ski in the afternoons.
That's right. Well, it would take me a few weeks to
night skiing now.
Yeah, there's 1 or 2 places out there.
Yeah. Excellent, Bill. Well, as a kind of a parting here, is there anything else you want to share, or also, let people know where they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can get a hold of me. Actually, it's pretty easy. Bill Patrick at frontier.com. That's actually a personal email.
Okay.
And the thing that everybody needs is to understand how much faith they need to muster in something that they're envisioning. How much faith can they garner and hold on to, in their business, in their life, and what they want to be, how they want to change, and carry that forward. And there's an energizing aspect to being able to see something that doesn't exist yet, and whether it's your business or the next project, that creative spark is it's life-giving. And there's lots of different ways to get there, and everybody needs to understand who they are in that, on their path.
Absolutely.
So there's a couple different concepts there, but
so we've done 7 podcasts so far, and I was smiling as you were going through that because it was really true, really solid, and I think that's the deepest we've gotten so far, Ryan.
That is, I agree.
Which was welcome and excellent. So thank you, Bill, for coming on the show today. We really appreciate you sharing your story, your knowledge, and your time. And just as a friendly reminder to all of our listeners, please check out remodellersontherise.com. And if you have a couple minutes, you can click on your iTunes or however you have the podcast downloaded and leave a review for us on there. The more reviews and ratings we get on there, the better chance that other people like yourself will be able to find the show. So we appreciate you all tuning in, and thank you again, Bill.
Well done, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure.